Hi, I'm Eve. I'm an arts therapist here at Arts for Health, so that means I work with children doing arts therapy programs each term. Another part of what I do is being a program manager, so I work at a wellbeing farm. So out in Ngaruahia we have horses and a dog and some donkeys, and we work with vulnerable youth doing wellbeing programs, so they get matched up with a horse and they learn about leadership and confidence and heaps of other skills out there on the farm. Arts therapy is a creative modality where you're working with a group or individual, and creativity is your main method of therapeutic support. So you're working with an arts therapist. That means that we're facilitating a creative process, and then the individual is bringing the content related to their own life and their own goals. I chose to work as an arts therapist because there's kind of two elements there that I really like: humans, people, and creativity, and I was really attracted to kind of bringing those two things together. So for me, that was kind of a way to do something that I felt I had some skill in, but also I really believe in the way that creativity can bring out some amazing life-giving resources for everyone. And I found that I had lots of energy when I was studying that, and it really made me excited. So I kept studying it, and then now I'm here. Working as an arts therapist is really cool because it means that you're using creativity every day, and it's working with young people or adults, and so there's lots of connection and relationships. So that's a really amazing way to work each day. But also there's lots of challenges and problem solving and lots of creative thinking, because there are lots of new things being thrown at you all the time, and we're reaching for art and creativity and our support and all those things. It's also a really interesting form of work because the art is therapeutic, but also my role is to be holding space, and that means that I need to take care of myself really well and have some good processes after work to support myself as well. So there's some really interesting, amazing things that happen in session, and creativity is so powerful, but then also outside of session there's lots of important things about taking care of yourself as a practitioner. So in arts therapy we would do things that people consider as your traditional art, so maybe painting, drawing. We bring in clay, we do lots of things like dance and mindfulness. Sometimes we call dance movement because dance can be a little bit scary for people sometimes. But basically I would say that almost everything is art. So tomorrow I'm making some masks with people, next week I'm doing something with books, altering books. So there's lots and lots of ways to use so many materials around us that make them creative, that can be useful for us. So you might go outside and collect some sensory natural materials and use that in an art process where you're making something sensory or creative using leaves or shells. You might do something with movement, so we're making movements in the air and then translating those onto a page. You might do something where you're matching up with someone across the table and mirroring what's going on for them. You might do something with your memories. You might do something about how your body is feeling right now. Often it's all about what is happening for the client or the group, something inside their body or their emotions or their thoughts, and then the arts therapist is helping them to bring that out and expand that and explore that in safe ways as well. Okay, so you might do painting, you might do drawing, you might do clay. Often with the kids we're using very sensory materials, so there's lots of plasticine and kind of goo, squishy materials that are really cool. Sometimes you're using your own body, so movement. You might be using natural materials from outside, so leaves or feathers or sticks from the ground. You might be using sand tray, which is a medium where you've got a box full of sand, and what we're doing in there is putting little miniatures in, so miniature figurines that represent different things. Often there's things like weaving or using string or fabric that you found. So lots of the time it's all about what is around that can bring out something from the inside. So what materials are stimulating or interesting. Another way you can go is if people are having experiences where they're very overstimulated, then we want to use mediums that sometimes are a bit more calming. So you might be doing mindfulness with just a black pen on white paper, or you might be doing a drawing with charcoal, looking at light and dark, and those can be metaphors, or those are just ways of calming your body down as well. So the benefits of arts therapy are all about creativity. So creativity is kind of like bringing out something new from inside yourself, and that thing can be very life-giving because it can be new information, it can be relaxation, so a time out just to be feeling safe and relaxed. Creativity can also give us information about our world around us or something that's happened to us in the past that we want to explore. So creativity is kind of like poiesis, which is a Greek word that means it's all about there was nothing and now there's something growing there. So we want to use creativity as a way for little seeds to grow and to bring change in whatever direction we want. So creativity is also all about your voice. So leaving a mark on a page, a blank page that then you made a line or a colour or a shape on, that's like my voice and my own self having the power to make a mark on the world, and that page sort of shows that I was here. And then I can use that page and that mark to empower myself because I'm making big images that represent something about me and that I am valuable. So it can be really empowering. Arts therapy is really for everyone, but if you want to think about young children, they can really benefit from arts therapy because it's such a creative and playful process. So that means that they can use just their feelings and their emotions in a very safe, playful way to express what's going on for them. But also adults need arts therapy because often we can get quite stuck in our head or a little bit limited in our play, and it can help us be a bit more expressive and explore what's going on for us. We want to talk about arts therapy as a therapeutic support that's available for everyone, that we help maintain our health and our well-being. Instead of turning to arts therapy only when we're really desperate, we can also use it like going to the gym. You just go regularly and you keep yourself in good health. So we hear all the time people saying, I can't do art. I was told by my art teacher that I wasn't good when I was younger. So the thing about creativity and arts in our expressive arts environment is that it's not about the final product. Lots of people sometimes think at the beginning, I can't do art, so therefore I can't do arts therapy. So what we would say to them is that in arts therapy, it's not about what your image looks like or how good it is, it's all about what it means to you. So I hear all the time people saying, my art teacher told me when I was 5 that I wasn't good at art, or some traumatic story about their art not being good enough. It's not about good enough, it's about your process and your relationship with your art. So maybe we could actually explore how we feel about art, and that might be one of our processes that we do. It's all about getting in your relationship and your meaning with your image that you've made. When people ask if they need to come to arts therapy with like an issue or a problem that they need to solve, you definitely don't. You can come to arts therapy as a time just to have relaxation or time out or explore what's happening for you in the present. So you don't need to walk into the arts therapy room or book in with a big idea of what you want to work on, though lots of people do because they're struggling with a certain area and that's their motivation. But if you're just thinking about arts therapy as a way to have time out and connect with yourself, then we can work with goals like that as well. So that's a really beautiful way to use creativity, that it's connecting with yourself in the present, seeing what's going on the inside, maybe celebrating something or remembering something. We don't always have to have really high level intense goals, but those goals are also appropriate sometimes. Art can help you relieve stress because often stress is actually located in our body. So doing something that's movement related or sensory related, so maybe working with clay or movement or breathing or mindfulness, can be a really powerful part of art as well, a part of our arts therapy process. But also stress can be inside our emotions or in our head and our thoughts. So getting out some of our emotions can be a really helpful way to release stress. Also getting out some of our thoughts and putting them on the page and responding to them can be a really good way to release stress, because sometimes it can be really helpful to bring stress out and leave it on the page. So some examples of some benefits or changes that people might notice after coming to arts therapy. So your child might be coming to arts therapy and you might notice that before they arrive, they're a little bit tense or stressed or pent up with energy maybe from school. Then after they leave, they're a little bit more expressive or relaxed or confident in some area, or some of their worries have sort of been left on the page. Maybe for an adult, you might come feeling like, I'm really anxious about this area, and then we actually can work with that area of your life and make a response to it. So you come and here's your goal, then we can respond to that goal, and because art is something that you can move and change and modify, then you can modify things that are inside our heart and our head. We can get them on the page and change them, and then that actually can help us because those symbols have changed in our life, And then when you leave the session, you've worked with those symbols and moved forward in some way. So your emotions have changed, your thoughts might be moving a little bit more, your body might be feeling a bit more relaxed. So some of those areas that you're working on might be changing just step by step each week in an arts therapy session. So often when people ask what is the main power or benefit of arts therapy, I will talk about life-giving. So creativity can give us life because it's something new and different and enjoyable. Just without us even bringing our own issues or challenges or thoughts, doing something creative straight away is usually a very positive experience. But then the other really powerful thing is that it allows us to express ourselves, and then on a page in front of you, you have something about yourself that you can work with. The next really powerful thing is that your art in front of you, you can change. So we can do something with the clay, we can make it look different, we can say, what did I need in that difficult experience in my life? And you can give it to yourself symbolically through something that you've made in your clay or your paint or your art process. So it can be really empowering because we can do things in art that sometimes we can't do out in the real world, but we can do symbolically inside our heart, our emotions, our body, inside our brain. So some of the fundamental areas that art therapy came from were in medical settings using art images to do projected drawings or to do assessments on how people are feeling in their psyche. So back in the 80s, lots of images that were sort of quite symbolic were used to explore things about the lower parts of people's brains that maybe they couldn't say so easily, but an image could bring out something. And that was maybe useful in the 80s. We do less assessment with our images, and it's more about what does it mean to you as the client, as the person that's making the art. Back then it was a little bit more about the therapist telling you what they could see in the image. So that's a little bit about the history of arts therapy. In New Zealand, there's one place to train for arts therapy. It's called Whitecliffe College of Art and Design up in Auckland, but they also have a campus down in Christchurch, and I think they might be starting some new campuses elsewhere as well. To be an arts therapist in New Zealand, you have to go and study a master's at a place called Whitecliffe College of Art and Design. So that's the only place in New Zealand that we have available for studying as an arts therapist. You can do a diploma and a master's there. It's a really amazing program, and I really encourage people to have a try. So the career pathway is interesting because it's quite useful to have a little bit of life experience before diving into becoming a therapist to support other people. So it can be really useful to have come from some other setting, maybe nursing or teaching, or even just being a parent for a little while can be really amazing. Then coming in, doing a diploma and a master's, and then you're going to move out and you can do private practice, or you can work in a social service organisation. Usually those are some of the areas that people can go, and it can be interesting to decide if your career wants to go outwards, as in trying lots of different things, lots of different settings, so prisons, hospitals, ECE, schools, home care, or do you want to narrow down and find just one type of area, one demographic that you really want to be an expert in? So the career pathway for arts therapy is maybe not super well beaten in New Zealand. There's not heaps of us, but there are going to be more and more. Some of the challenges for arts therapy are like a lot of alternative therapeutic support methods, so funding, marketing, allowing people to understand exactly what we do. So it's really cool being able to share what we do and giving people little experiences. We've really noticed in New Zealand and in the areas that I work recently that actually more people are open to alternative creative forms of therapy. It's been really enjoyable for me to learn more and more about how to explain what I do and what my work is like. Another challenge that's kind of fun is opening up areas for adults and for children that they didn't know existed. So sometimes I'll work with seniors and they'll be saying, I can't do this, and then over the weeks you can see how much more they can open up, and that's a challenge in its own way, but it's such a cool process. So rewarding moments for me as an arts therapist is just those times when people can use their art to take a step forward in some way in their life. So you might be sitting across from them on a table and you can see that their body has gone from a little bit tight to a little bit more relaxed, or maybe they're writing themselves some sort of journal or letter or self-reflection moment, and you can see that something has changed. Sometimes they'll arrive in one sort of mood, and then by the end of the session they're a little bit lighter, or they're saying, oh my gosh, I didn't realise that, or thank you so much, or look at my artwork. There's the pride and the joy in their own creative process that can be such amazing moments. I would definitely recommend exploring the options for becoming an arts therapist for people that are feeling like creativity has been really empowering in their own life, or if you're wanting to help other people in some more creative ways. It can be a really amazing career to work with, but of course it's also not a traditional career and there can be challenges along the way. But that's the whole point of using art, that it supports us in the roller coaster of life. So in New Zealand, to book for an arts therapist, we have a website called Anzacata, so we can put that up on the screen. Anzacata has a whole list of all the registered arts therapists that are available in different areas and what they specialise in. Or you can go to your doctor or your counsellor and ask if they know of any good arts therapists around. Then you'll be given a name or a number or a website, and there'll always be a way to contact them directly. You can also ask if you can just have a meeting or do a one-off session to check if it is for you, because connecting with your arts therapist and having a really safe, trusting relationship is a really important first step in your therapy. The difference between doing individual arts therapy and group arts therapy is that obviously with individual arts therapy you can delve a little bit more into your individual needs and the content in your own life. Group arts therapy is a little bit less space for total focus on your individual needs, but those can still come out. But a main difference for group arts therapy is that the group dynamic is a really powerful, empowering part of the process. So connecting with other people in the group, sharing, noticing differences, getting support from each other, that's a really cool part of group arts therapy. Obviously in individual arts therapy, there's no one in a group apart from you two, so there's the art therapist and the client, so it's kind of a group of three, but it's a little bit smaller and more focused. So common barriers that we see in an arts therapy setting would be that young people maybe have been told that they're not good at art, so their kind of first creative instinct is a little bit more defensive or limited, so they might reach for a pen and then question it, or they might reach for a crayon and then question, oh, am I doing the right thing, and look over at someone else and check in sort of for permission or have I done good? And that's okay, but sometimes that can limit their sort of flow or their process a little bit. So one of our jobs in that scenario would be, as the arts therapist, to allow lots of permission and safety and playfulness to be expressive. Sometimes there's something similar with adults, so we've limited ourselves, we've got stuck in our head a little bit, we think, I'm not good at art, or someone's going to judge this. But remember, it's not about judgment, it's about what it means to you. So adults can often be a little bit stuck, and it takes a little bit of permission and playfulness to bring out our creative flow again. And then once we're there, we can be so much more accessible to our emotions or our thoughts and bringing out our creativity. So Arts for Health is a community arts centre, so that means we can have people that come from all parts of the community to use creativity to benefit their well-being. So we have arts tutors and arts therapists, and we go out also into the community, into schools and old folks' homes and different areas, providing creative programs. So that can be arts therapy, or it can be art tutoring and art classes. That can be in group scenarios or individually. But arts therapy is all about bringing out our creative process for our well-being. That's what we do as arts therapists at Arts for Health. So everyone can come to Arts for Health, so we would love everyone to come and learn how creativity can be beneficial for them. You don't have to have a problem or something that you're trying to solve. You can just come as yourself. Anyone straight from the street would love to meet you and do something creative with you. You do not have to be creative or already an artist to come to Arts for Health. So people that don't have any creative experience, we would love to work beside you as well. For me, working at Arts for Health has been really empowering for myself as well, because we're all creative in different ways. We're bringing that out in ourselves, and that can be really empowering, working with other people that are thinking creatively, brave enough to try new things, open for alternative suggestions, and using what we have around us to make the best. So it's really positive, it's been really supportive, and it's also allowed me to grow lots of skills that I didn't even know I had. So I really love being a part of Arts for Health. So when we're trying to do art for ourselves at home for relaxation, it's really important to connect with yourself. So basically the first step that could be useful would be to check in, how am I feeling and what do I need in this moment? So any process where you're writing or thinking or making a picture using paint or pencil or clay about how you're feeling in the present can be a really useful tool. So that could be step 1, how do I feel now? Then step 2, make an image that responds to that first image. So make a second image, that's how do I want to feel, or what would be helpful for me right now. So where am I in the present, and then where would I like to go, or what would be useful for me. And that could be made with pen on paper, it could be paint, it could be a finger painting, it could be through movement and dance, it could be using sculptural images, collage, so many different things. But if you're wanting to relax yourself, it can be really useful to start in the present and then see what would be helpful for you. So 2 little images. As one final thing, I just think it's a really cool idea that everyone is creative and that we all have something creative inside us, and that means that everyone is an artist and creativity can be useful for everyone.